I'm not exactly proud to be posting here, but I really need to get this off my chest and maybe get some perspective. I'm a 35-year-old guy, been married for 7 years to what I thought was the love of my life, let's call her Karen. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but honestly, I thought we were doing okay. We've got 2 kids, a house, the usual grind. But about 3 months ago, things started feeling off. Like, really off. It began with small stuff. She got super defensive over the dumbest things, started shutting down when I tried to talk about our future, and suddenly, her phone became this untouchable secret. She always had it glued to her hand or in another room when I walked in. I mean, I knew couples sometimes have their private space, but this was a whole new level. I even noticed her spending a lot more time at work late at night. Which was weird because she'd never done that before. And the one time I asked her what was up, she snapped at me, saying I was being paranoid and insecure. Classic. I tried to shrug it off, maybe she was just stressed or something, but something in my gut told me this wasn't normal. There was this one day when I got home earlier than usual and found her working late at a cafe downtown. The thing was, I saw her laughing and leaning way too close to some dude I'd never seen before. My heart kinda twisted, but I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. Maybe he was just a friend. But then the weirdest thing happened. A couple days later, I found a receipt from a fancy hotel restaurant in her purse, and she swore she'd never been there. That's when my paranoia switched to straight-up suspicion. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Anyway, that's how it all started unraveling. More weird moments, more lies, and me trying to hold on to whatever little faith I had left. So, a few days after I found that hotel receipt, I decided to get a little sneaky. Not proud of it, but I needed answers. I borrowed her phone one night when she was sleeping, and yep, locked with a passcode she never gave me. Tried the usual ones she'd used before, nothing. That made me even more suspicious. I ended up finding a tiny crack though. Her Apple Watch was still connected to her phone and showed notifications. And guess what? Messages from some guy named Mark that were not exactly just friends stuff. Heart emojis, plans to meet up, and one message that literally said, "Can't wait to see you tonight." I felt like my chest was being squeezed. I wanted to scream, but I kept reading. Then, I saw that they had made dinner plans for the very night. My stomach dropped. Without thinking it through, I grabbed the keys, threw on a jacket, and drove to that hotel restaurant to catch them in the act. The walk from the parking lot to the lobby felt like forever. And there they were. Karen and Mark, sitting way too close, whispering, laughing. He had his arm around her. I almost vomited right there. Karen's eyes caught mine mid-sip of her wine. I swear, the look on her face was pure bitch mode activated. She didn't even try to hide it. She smirked and waved at me like I was a freak. That was the moment I knew I wasn't just imagining things. This was real. And it was devastating. So yeah, after that awful moment at the restaurant, I didn't wait around. I stormed up to their table and just blurted out, "What the hell is going on here, Karen?" Mark looked like a deer caught in headlights, but Karen? Oh, she was something else. She immediately snapped back, all icy and sharp, "Oh please, don't make a scene. You're embarrassing yourself. Like I'm the problem here." Then she rolled her eyes and said, "You're just jealous. This is none of your business." I was standing there, mouth open, because, seriously. I told her, "You owe me an explanation. Why are you cheating on me?" Her response: pure gold of denial and lies. She said Mark was just a coworker, they were working late on a project, and those messages. "You're twisting things." She claimed I was crazy for even thinking she'd cheat. I called her out on the hotel receipt, the secret texts, and the dinner tonight. She snapped back, "You snooping through my stuff is what's crazy. I'm sick of you spying on me." She started blaming me for everything, how I was neglecting her, not paying enough attention, and making her miserable. At some point, she got loud, calling me a pathetic loser and telling me to get over it. Honestly, it hurt more than the betrayal itself. The way she twisted the truth and attacked me made me feel small, like I was the villain for catching her red-handed. I left the restaurant that night feeling broken, humiliated, and furious all at once. That night, I just sat in my car for what felt like hours. I couldn't stop shaking, not just from anger, but from this crushing sadness I wasn't ready for. The woman I trusted, who promised forever, just looked me in the eye and lied like it was nothing. I kept replaying her words in my head, "You're pathetic, you're the problem, get over it." I honestly wondered if she even cared at all, or if I was just some obstacle she was done with. The worst part? I started doubting myself. Was I really ignoring her? Was I that bad? But no, deep down, I knew. The signs were all there, and she was the one crossing lines, not me. I texted a few close friends, trying to hold it together, but every word felt hollow. I didn't want advice, I just needed someone to listen. One friend told me, "Dude, she sounds like a nightmare. Don't let her gaslight you." Another said, "You deserve better." It helped a bit. But that night, tears finally came. Not the dramatic kind, but the quiet, soul-crushing ones. I felt like my whole world had shattered. The next morning was surreal. Karen acted like nothing happened. She got up, made coffee, and gave me that smug, "Are you gonna bring this up again?" look. I felt like yelling, but I swallowed it. I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time, calm and direct. I told her, "Karen, we need to talk. I know about you and Mark. Stop lying." She crossed her arms, smirked, and said, "You don't know shit. Stop embarrassing yourself." I laid it all out, the texts, the dinner, the hotel receipt. She just scoffed and said, "You're obsessed with control. Maybe if you weren't so needy, I wouldn't have to cheat." Then she dropped the kicker, "Maybe I deserve better." I couldn't believe my ears. She was blaming me for her cheating. It hit me like a punch to the gut. That bitchy, cold, twisted excuse she made wasn't just denial, it was her way of gaslighting me and flipping the entire situation. At that moment, I realized this marriage wasn't just broken, it was toxic. After that conversation, I was a mess. I couldn't decide whether to scream at her, break down crying, or just walk out and never look back. The house felt suffocating, every corner reminded me of the lies and betrayal. I started looking for ways to cope. I threw myself into work, trying to distract my mind, but no matter what I did, the image of Karen with Mark haunted me. I even started having nightmares, waking up sweating, heart pounding, wondering if she was still lying when I wasn't looking. One day, out of desperation, I confronted her again, this time begging for honesty. I said, "If you're going to hurt me, just tell me the truth. I can't fix what I don't know." Her response? Pure venom. She sneered, "You think I care? I don't owe you anything. You're the one who can't keep me interested." That hit a new low. The woman I married, the mother of my kids, was telling me she didn't care about me at all. At this point, I was spiraling. I felt angry, betrayed, confused, and utterly alone. Every time I tried to talk to Karen, it was like hitting a brick wall covered in venom. She wasn't the woman I married, she was a stranger with a sharp tongue and zero remorse. Then, out of nowhere, Karen dropped a bomb on me. One evening, she announced she wanted a break. Yeah, a break, like we were teenagers in a bad rom-com. She said she needed space to figure things out, and that I was too clingy and stifling. I asked if that meant she wanted to leave me. She just shrugged and said, "Maybe." That was the last straw. I wanted to scream, to beg, to fix things, but inside, a cold, bitter part of me realized maybe this was what I needed. Maybe I deserved better than her lies and cruelty. After she said she wanted a break, I honestly didn't know what to do with myself. I was stuck between hoping she'd come back and knowing deep down that she probably wouldn't. I started sleeping on the couch because every time I tried to be near her, the tension was unbearable. The house turned into a war zone of silent treatments, snide comments, and passive-aggressive glares. I wasn't even sure if she still cared about the kids or if this was just her way of punishing me. One night, I caught her texting Mark again. This time, it was even worse. They were planning a weekend getaway. I confronted her with the phone in my hand, and she just laughed. Laughed. Told me, "You're pathetic. Maybe if you weren't such a loser, I wouldn't have to sneak around." That broke me in ways I can't describe. After that night, I seriously hit rock bottom. I couldn't eat, barely slept, and every little thing reminded me of her betrayal. Friends tried to check on me, but I kept pushing them away because I was embarrassed, like this was somehow my fault. One afternoon, I found an email on our shared computer from Mark to Karen. It was disgusting, all these plans, sweet nothings, and promises that made me want to scream. I saved the email as evidence, not that it made me feel any better. I decided it was time to stop pretending I could fix this on my own. I reached out to a counselor for some guidance. The first session was brutal. I cried like a baby, spilled everything, and felt the weight of months of betrayal finally lift a little. The counselor helped me see something I was ignoring. This wasn't just about Karen cheating. It was about me reclaiming my self-respect and deciding what I wanted moving forward. With the counselor's help, I started setting boundaries. No more sneaking around, no more being her doormat. I told Karen flat out that if she wanted to stay married, she needed to be honest, cut contact with Mark, and actually try to fix this. She laughed again and said, "You're so delusional. This marriage is dead." That was the coldest moment. It finally sunk in. She didn't want to fight for us. She wanted out, or at least to keep living her double life. I took a hard look at myself and realized I deserved better than someone who treated me like a backup plan or a joke. The kids deserved better, too. So I started planning my next steps. I talked to a lawyer about separation, just to have the info, not because I was ready to jump. I focused on being present for the kids, trying to keep things stable at home despite the chaos. It wasn't easy, but every day I reminded myself, I am worth respect. I deserve honesty. I deserve happiness. Around this time, Karen got even more dramatic, like, full-on diva mode. She started throwing passive-aggressive comments at me in front of the kids, saying things like, "Maybe if you weren't such a bore, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." I kept my cool for the kids' sake, but inside, I was furious. One evening, she even tried to guilt-trip me, saying, "I'm the one making sacrifices for this family, and, you're just jealous and insecure." I laughed bitterly. The audacity. Despite everything, I still wanted to believe there was a chance she could change, so I asked her if she'd be willing to go to couples therapy. She scoffed and said, "Why bother? You'll never be enough for me." At that moment, I stopped hoping. I finally accepted that this marriage was beyond saving, and that I had to start thinking about moving on, for me and the kids. After accepting that, I started quietly making plans to move out, not because I wanted to run away, but because the house had turned into a battlefield. I needed space to heal and to figure out who I was without her constant lies and insults. Packing bags while keeping a brave face for the kids was one of the hardest things I've ever done. They didn't fully understand what was happening, and I wanted to protect them from the chaos. The night before I left, Karen didn't even try to stop me. No tears, no apologies, just a cold, good riddance. That stung more than I thought it would, but as I closed the door behind me, I felt a strange mix of fear and relief. For the first time in months, I felt like I was taking control of my life again. Living alone again after all those years was terrifying. The silence in my new place felt deafening, but also, peaceful. I had time to think without her constant drama hanging over me. I started seeing a therapist regularly, really digging into my feelings and learning to trust myself again. Of course, the guilt hit me hard. I worried about the kids, about how this mess would affect them. But I also knew that staying in a toxic situation was worse for everyone. I stayed involved as much as possible in their lives, always making sure Karen knew I wasn't disappearing. But I also kept my boundaries solid, no more getting dragged into her emotional games. It was a slow, painful process, but bit by bit, I started to rebuild my confidence and sense of self-worth. Over time, I started to realize something important. This experience, as brutal as it was, taught me a lot about what I won't tolerate anymore. I learned how sneaky and toxic lies can be, and how gaslighting feels from the inside. It made me appreciate honesty, respect, and real communication in a relationship, things Karen clearly couldn't or wouldn't give me. I also realized how easy it is to lose yourself trying to hold on to something that's already broken. Sometimes, walking away is the strongest, healthiest choice. I'm not saying I'm totally over it yet. Some days hit harder than others. But I'm finally at a place where I'm focusing on me and my kids, rebuilding a life free from betrayal and disrespect. So, to wrap this all up, if you're reading this and suspect something's off in your relationship, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs or let yourself be gaslit into thinking you're the crazy one. And if you catch someone cheating, know that their lies and excuses don't reflect your worth. For me, this painful journey showed me how important self-respect is. It's okay to walk away from people who treat you like dirt, even if it's hard. And sometimes, the hardest thing to do is the right thing. I'm still healing, still figuring out what comes next, but I'm finally free of the toxic cycle. If you're in a similar spot, hang in there. You deserve honesty, love, and respect, don't settle for less. Thanks for listening, Reddit. It feels good just to say it out loud. Ct.